Good afternoon, Stuart. Good afternoon, everybody who hopefully is out there listening.
Good afternoon.
A minute or two late due to water in the wires.
Yep. This was largely due to the fact that my lips were out of sync with my brain or something, wasn't it, Derek?
We had that, but it could be water in the wires, having seen what's coming down outside. But there we go. So this is all down to all the fault of Stuart.
Fault. Yes, all right. Yes, I'll accept that.
Yeah, we talked about risk last month, and this month you said, well, what about if it all goes wrong? What do we do? So what do we do? So I'd love to know.
So Derek, let me give you a couple of tips that I was taught when I was a young. I say that with the very best of intentions. Young manager. I had been put in charge of. I started some businesses, and I was never as controlled as I should have been. Thinking activity was better than thought. Now, there's a long story behind why I thought activity was better than thought, but it was eventually pointed out to me by a very gentle Ned that was brought into the company. He sat me down and he said, do you realize you don't have to make a decision immediately? And definitely not when you're in a bad mood. And I thought, I thought I had to make decisions rapidly, that everything needed. He said, you sometimes have got opportunities to actually delay your decision. In fact, you can let your team make a decision and 3 weeks later go, do you know, I think we've made a decision. Let's back up a bit and see whether or not there's another way of doing it. So my question to you, my opinion to you this, you always have to act immediately. What this guy said to me, and he died years ago, so I can't get him on the phone now and explain it all to you again. But let me explain to you what he said to me. He said these things. You have often got time. So don't decide to yourself, I have to make a decision immediately. Tell yourself, let's see how this goes. Now that you might think that doesn't make sense for certain risky decisions you have to take. You might think to yourself, this decision, once it's taken, there's no reversing it. That is a different situation. So his essential to me was this. Depending upon the risk of your situation, depending upon whether or not this is a decision which is definitive and can't be reversed, or whether or not there is an option out of it, you can take a lot of time to do some thinking over a one-way decision, as he called it. You can spend a lot of time doing the analysis and making sure it's the right decision. But if it's a reversible decision, if it's a decision which actually you can just sort of let it ride for a couple of weeks and go, hey, let's turn around and make it do something else. Make that decision with almost no analysis. If the team want to do it, just let them do it. Stop trying to make that the heavy analysis and let them do it for a couple of weeks. And then if it doesn't work out, you turn around and go, hey, we tried. Let's go backwards. There is too much time that we spend believing that a reversible decision is truly irreversible. And we put a lot of emphasis, a lot of effort into doing analysis when there's just no need to do that. You can actually say, let's just, as somebody put it to me, you can put it in the flick it bucket. That's not the word I used. You can put that into the flick it bucket. Let's just do it. And I think we spend a lot of time as leaders, as people that are in charge of these things, doing analysis that we don't need to do. Yes, there are risks. Sometimes those risks are worth a choice.
It's a little like the analysis my wife does when she wants to buy some clothes. She'll happily go online and say, am I small, medium, large, extra large? Do I want brown, black, yellow, red? I don't know. Sod it. I'll buy the lot. They'll come via courier. I'll try them all on, and I'll effectively partially reverse my decision by sending some of the stuff back. And in fact, you don't have to make the decision. It effectively makes itself by presenting data, and that's what happens when you take propose a course of action, and you and your colleagues or whatever work on it for a fortnight, extra stuff appears, and you go, that was right, that wasn't right. But that's also part of that is also something that in the world of creativity I labeled as cycle often and close late. When we were all very young students, there was we adopted that policy, whereas in other parts of the business world and maybe at school, I mean, whenever we had an assignment, for instance, or get it done, better get it done, must get it done immediately. But the longer you put off something and towards a deadline, the more material, the better decision you can actually make. And if you leave it till 5 minutes to midnight, you might have that last piece of information comes in at 10 minutes to midnight, and I know, it happens to be a good report in business, or it happens to be the extra thing that enables you to make an extra 10 Bitcoin or something. So cycling often and closing late is basically not making
I think that's
not premature
yeah.
articulation.
I think what we have to do, Derek, is we have to separate. We as leaders, as people who are in this field professionally, and I do include myself as professional.
Don't include me.
We do actually have to stand back occasionally and say, is the decision I'm taking what I would call a one-way decision? There's no reversing it. This one is going to be made, one and done.
Yeah.
And once we do it, we can't go back. Under those circumstances, cycle often and decide late is absolutely the right approach.
Yeah.
Because frankly, you need to get as much data as you can before you make that decision. When they're two-way decisions, like your wife buying some clothes. I mean, if I saw my son the other day agonizing over a pair of shoes, and I said, well, buy them, and if you don't like them, send them back. And he was there going, no, I don't know. You've wasted more time thinking about this than the shoes themselves will cost. If you put time in terms of, time is money. If you actually assign an amount of money to your time, if you assign an amount of money, I mean, I've done this in meetings. I had an online clock once where we put in everybody's salary, how much time the meeting was going to take. And I said, this meeting is costing us, and we had some very expensive people in this meeting. This meeting is costing us £60,000 or whatever it was. Is this decision we're taking today less than £60,000 or more than £60,000? And somebody looked at it and said, well, it's virtually nothing. And said, in that case, we'll take the decision. We'll say yes now, and we can disband this meeting and get on with something else. Because frankly, I don't want to waste 60 grand on something which is 12 grand's worth of activity. So we'll just say yes. And if it's the wrong decision, we'll reverse it next week. And people looked at me as if to say, but you can't do it like that. Yes, you can. If you are wasting time doing analysis and having a lot of people doing analysis, something which is reversible and frankly low value, just for goodness sake, get on with it. Yes, you can say there's a risk, but if it's a two-way decision, if the risk is going to be that you can just change, then just take the decision, get on with it and reverse it. Don't spend all that time, as you do, cycling through something, wasting a lot of time and then going, oh, well, let's just do that one anyway. It is just a waste. It's hugely inefficient. And I think that is part of productivity. We're a hugely inefficient, productive space because a lot of managers want to feel important by holding a meeting and making everybody feel that they need to be heard, when in actual fact, they could just go, flick it. Let's go on with this one and we'll come back to it next week.
Yeah. The other thing about taking decisions instantly, that's why I like the shopping analogy is quite good, is if you don't take that decision and act when you think, I want that pair of shoes or I want that jumper or whatever it happens to be, by the time you do go to make that decision, your size isn't in stock anymore. So you've actually lost that opportunity. By taking that decision quickly, you have actually seized the moment, as it were.
I've never ever thought of it in those terms, and that's a really good one. We have got to learn as managers, as business owners, as leaders, what the limits are. There are times when we can actually turn around and go, I am wasting a lot of time, effort, and money with this because things are going to change. Let's just do something, and if it's reversible, come back. You're right. I should buy that. I should buy that pair of shoes. If they turn out to be too small, fine. I'll go get another pair. Rather than waiting until such time as your feet actually are settled, because things are going to change.
Indeed.
Anyway, that's my opinion this week. We are hugely inefficient because we try to make decisions based upon the wrong set of criteria, because we are trying to make everything definitive. Some things are just not that definitive. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are going to turn around and go, "You've no idea what you're talking about, Webb. You're an idiot." And I'm happy to debate that with them. Not with you, obviously, Derek. You won't think that, will you?
No, I know what the answer is. but there we go.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Indeed. But no, look, in fact, that's interesting because it's loosely connected to something that I encountered online, which is sort of going back halfway towards last month and risk. And it was encouraging people to make decisions. And there was two different methods of doing it, which I thought were quite interesting. Both have their merits, but I'm not sure I'd like to employ either. One was, I believe, done inside IKEA, and it was basically
you cannot make a decision in kind of IKEA. It is impossible.
Well, indeed, yes. But this was to try and encourage innovation and risk taking. And when the idea was that when people joined, they had a little card, effectively, that was actually personally signed by the boss, saying, you are allowed to take these decisions and go off and do things on your own, etc. Which was interesting. It was a way of giving permission. But the second example was. And I believe it's being tried in multiple organisations, is people get a set of gambling chips, and they can effectively gamble on the decisions they make, and over a period of time you can see which ones have paid off and which ones haven't, and they both have their merits. But I thought the IKEA one is. Okay, yes, it's a way of saying to people, you're enabled to make these decisions, but that has come down from the top. It's still like a version of control. You haven't properly given control to the employees at that point, and that's why I like the chip idea. However, I can see some very logical brained. I don't know, CEO or other member of the board saying, "Oh, that's great. We've got these chips. We can turn it into some form of key performance indicator."
Yeah,
which again isn't the right thing to do. And what you're trying to do is influence the culture of the organisation towards risk taking, towards making decisions, be they reversible or not. So yeah. So I guess the long-winded way of doing this is effectively saying, how do we embed this way of taking decisions, cycling often and closing late, or taking decisions immediately? How do we embed that? How do you get everybody to buy into it?
So I think this is always difficult, isn't it? Because if you look around any team, we've done the sort of psychology of this often. The sort of, you'll find there are the sort of four, the four sort of types that you get in any one of these sort of like the disc profile. You get people who are happy to make decisions, those who need more time to do the analysis, those people who want to appease everybody. Just been dealing with one of those today, actually. Guy who is he just wants everybody to be happy. His only driving force is for everybody to be happy. And he's trying to reach a consensus on something for which there is no consensus. There just won't be. He's got somebody on his team who is, he himself is also very deeply wanting to make sure that all the I's are crossed and all the T's are dotted, and he is looking for every bit of analysis. At the end of the day, I basically went into this because I was asked to see if I could sort of help break some of this deadlock. And I went, who's the person that's most going to carry the can for it? And the answer was, it's so-and-so. And said, okay, how do they feel about this? Well, we haven't asked them. Well, let's get their input. It's basically the customer services director. He's the guy that's going to end up owning the decision, and he's outside of the decision-making process. All right, let's get him involved. Let's make sure that they're happy. He turned around and said, I'm happy for so-and-so to actually make the decision. Terrific. Unfortunately, that person is now trying to drive a consensus. How are you going to break the deadlock? And he said, well, basically, I want this output. Right? They don't know that. They need to hear that. So once again, we're back to what's the key deliverable? What's the key indication? Whatever you want to call it. What is the thing that people have to know that they're going to do? And it was one of those two-way decisions. If they make the wrong decision, there's no consequence. So you get back to the group trying to make the decision. And you go, guys, two things. This is what you're driving at. You've lost sight of that. He's not really explained it. Two, if you make the wrong decision, no problem. Nobody's going to there's no consequence to it. There's nobody going to be sacked, nothing. Okay, now they know that. They're happier to explore some of the analysis they've got, make the decision, and if it doesn't work out, they know nobody's going to get sacked, so they're all good. Now, that has taken several weeks to break that deadlock because nobody set the rules out. The important thing is everybody needs to know the rules.
Yeah, it highlights another thing when people usually higher up ask people to make decisions, and the decisions aren't about outcomes; they're about courses of action.
Of course,
Should we or you be taking this course of action or that course of action? But if you say, well, actually, I want output A or output B or output A in whatever way you decide you want to do it, it's usually much, much easier to do.
Exactly. And that's all that anybody ever can ask for. So for me, it became simple once we got that. What's the output we want of this? And this is something we forget as a long time. Go back to the risk thing. We forget that the output of these things has an impact upon our risk profiles, and we don't take that into account. So why not? Because we don't think about outputs enough. We think about the activities and the actions. We don't think about what's the final end result. And the end result will carry a level of risk. Now, once again, if that risk is low and it's a two-way decision, who cares? Don't bring everybody into a room and make them spend hours and hours and hours thinking about things. It's just not worth it.
In fact, some very good examples of risk taking. I don't know if anybody listening in was watching telly last night, the DIY SOS project for children in need.
I missed this one.
It was, well, it depends. If you like wiping tears from your eyes, it's a good one. But it was massive. I believe they had, it wasn't just 70, 80, 90 guys on site. There were several hundred.
Wow.
It was absolutely massive. But you usually find with those guys, when they hit a problem, there's no great big sort of conference about how to sort it. It gets done. And there were several instances last night where it was, oh, well, I'll tell you what, if I did this, that would solve the problem. Yeah, okay, fine. And that's it. Had they been the wrong decision, somebody else would have said, I'll insert an extra bit of timber in there and we'll fix it that way. It is worth watching just for that, because there were several instances where they had to enlarge the door frames and this sort of, and it just got done. They did this fantastic build in 11 days.
Wow!
And I don't know how you do it, but it's
beyond my DIY skills, I can promise you that.
Yeah. But if you focus on the problems that they encountered and how they solved them, it was actually a very, very good program. So for anybody out there in LinkedIn land, go and have a look.
Brilliant.
But that's after you've donated, of course.
Listen, I think what we've agreed, or maybe we've just opined on, which is what we're here to do. What
Indeed.
we've opined on here is the fact that decisions are often taken without thinking about the output. What is
Indeed.
the reason you're trying to make the decision? Some of those decisions, low risk, can be reversed. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about them. Some of those decisions are high risk, need a lot of analysis. In those situations, make sure that you're always cycling through the data, looking for the data, and close
Yeah.
late, because you don't want to make a decision that's the wrong one. But for goodness sake, don't spend more on your decision than the risk, because you will have to balance decision against risk. And too many people, I think, are over balancing their decisions against the risks that they're taking. Risk does have a consequence, but so does time taken to make a decision. And a lot of time, we don't want to make a decision because somebody doesn't want to take the risk. The risk could be low, so take the decision.
Yeah.
Too often, the boss is actually needing you to move forward so he can spend the money somewhere else.
Indeed. So yeah, nicely summed up there, Stuart.
Oh, I thought so. Well, that's that's why you have me on this, don't you, Derek? So that I can do this, the sum up, and you can do the opinion.
No, it's just to make me look good, to be honest.
Oh, okay. That's as well.
That's the only reason. So there we go. That's it for this week. So this month even. So we're back next month, a week later. We have already decided we're just in time for Christmas. So Friday, the 19th of December, and we'll find a nice little Christmas present to give people. I've got a
funny feeling that will be our Christmas party, because a lot of people will surely be thinking by that stage, I don't want to make any more decisions. I've had to spend this much money on my Christmas presents.
Indeed. So yeah, we will have to find something sort of innovative around Christmas.
Yeah.
So
probably something to do with some of the myths that are flying around about Christmas, and whether or not they could genuinely be thought to be true or risky.
Indeed, I know an awful lot of health and safety stuff around Christmas, which makes quite a good laugh. But
yeah, let's do that then.
But yeah, so okay, we'll see you all next month then. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him, as they say in somewhere.
Whoops! Oh, that's the